Hope you're doing good. Micah back with another video. Back here to talk about the iPad Pro and iPadOS 17.4.1, the follow-up of this update. It's been out for about a week or so, and I wanted to give my quick thoughts on what do I think has been going on with this update, addressing the iPads, and specifically how has the iPad Pro been since running iPadOS 17.4.1. So if you guys are interested in this video, considering the fact that we still have not gotten any updates on the new arriving 2024 iPads and iPad Pros, let's talk about the software that's currently going on. And I'm very, very close to wanting to download the iPadOS 17.5 beta to see if those new changes coming to the 2024 iPad Pros is trickling down to the previous iPad Pros. Very tempted. We'll see if that happens or not. But in the meantime, if you guys haven't already, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, the notification bell. It's all free. That way you miss our video, so you and I can sit back, check, see what's cracking. Now let's get into the video. And the first thing we want to address is the fact that iPadOS 17.4.1 did address one specific issue, at least that we know of, for specific iPad models, and that was fixing the QR code scanning camera for certain iPad models. There are kind of older models for the iPads. This iPad did not have that problem, so this was not necessarily addressed for the M2 iPad Pro 6th generation, but it was addressed for previous iPads, so I did want to highlight that. The other thing I wanted to highlight is some of the necessary improvements that may have came in the background when it comes to the Apple Music. So upon coming into Apple Music, we know that they added the heavy rotation mix. Shout out to J. Cole dropping some music yesterday. I'm hearing it's a little so-so. There you go right there. So let's see. I think it's actually in Home where you find the actual heavy rotation mix. And so far, to my knowledge, this still has not improved past 25 songs. And I've been listening to a bunch of songs with Apple Music. So I'm interested to see what happens if, let's say, you know what, let's check now. Real time, if I hit shuffle and it starts playing music, and then I shout out to Evanescence, and if I click the Q, will it, if I go all the way down here, oh, that's really it. So if I hit next, what happened? Oh, it just starts it back over. Interesting. So yes, so as you guys can see here, this playlist is not really doing what it's supposed to be doing when it comes to the heavy rotation mix, and it doesn't even seem like it's really switching out the songs either. So I don't know if this is something that really changes over time or not, or this still needs gradual improvements. But heavy rotation mix, to me, is still not working as functional as it's supposed to. The other thing that is working very well though is the podcast, Apple Podcasts in particular. And so upon coming in here, let's say I wanted to listen to Mac Rumors, I click on this, I click on the transcription. I love the layout for the iPad, and I like how, even if I want to go full screen with it, I'll switch back to my stage manager mode with it. You see right here, highlights everything. The search button is available. If I want to search iPad, we see that they pop up right there, and I think that you can just click right on it and it skips right to that sentence that mentions it. So I like this search feature for the transcriptions, and I love that they work especially flawlessly here on the iPad, considering the layout you get. It makes you really want to check out the podcast on the iPad that much more, especially if you don't even have like a bigger model like I do. I have the 12.9 inch. Imagine having like the 11 or even like the iPad mini running podcasts on that, slightly smaller condensed display. I think it would look absolutely amazing. The one thing that I'm still surprised they haven't added to the iPad, something I keep mentioning, maybe Apple will come across my videos, is adding the stolen device protection to the iPads. I don't know why that's an iPhone only feature. I understand iPhones are probably the easiest to steal from people, but if I wanted to turn the passcode off, I could, I guess, but this has nothing to do with stolen device protection. That has always been there. You can require the code immediately, but as you guys can see here, there is no stolen device protection. So interesting to see that still hasn't been forwarded down to the iPads yet. Maybe it will with iPadOS 17.5. We'll see. Again, depending on whether or not I download the beta, we'll find out. I think it's on code beta build F, meaning that we might get it by the end of April, early May, considering the fact that that's when we might see the new iPads anyway, is early May. So be on the lookout for that. Performance wise, how has the iPad Pro been handling iPadOS 17.4.1? Like a flybird, it has been doing very, very well, very, very decent. If you guys have noticed, I've kind of changed my layout just a little bit on here. Now I take advantage of different widgets, but it's handling everything just fine. I like all my little widgets. This one I need to fix because it's not showing proper text color, but I love this that I have going on here. I haven't noticed any stutters, any jitters. Everything works just fine. Now, I have noticed that a lot of updates have been happening recently with the iPad in terms of like apps. And I think that's just in the App Store in general. A lot of updates have been taking place, especially with YouTube and YouTube Studio. I've been seeing almost daily updates with those. So I don't know if there's testing going on, new features being added in the background. So that's the only thing I've noticed. I have noticed since iPadOS 17.4.1, it doesn't automatically switch to dark mode if you haven't turned the display off. So like if I'm watching content past the hour in which my dark mode is supposed to kick in, I have to actually hit the power button, power it down, power it back up, and then it will switch to dark mode. Previous to iPadOS 17.4.1, and I almost even want to say iPadOS 17.4, it would switch by itself, and I would notice it with YouTube specifically. If I'm watching YouTube and I swipe down out of the video, immediately real time the YouTube app would go from light to dark mode. Or if I just click between like home, subscriptions, library, that would help refresh the YouTube app to switch to dark mode. Now I have to actually turn my display off and turn it back on for dark mode to kick in. So that's an interesting tweak that has been changed since running the last two iPadOS 17.4 builds on the iPad Pro. But outside of that, as you guys see, I've been swiping through everything just fine, opening apps just fine, playing stuff just fine, and you see the fluid ProMotion display at work doing its thing. Phenomenal job. And last but not least, DaVinci Resolve has continued to work effortlessly. Shout out to Jay Williams for actually doing a video on his editing process with the M3 MacBook Air 15-inch, I believe he has. Interesting that he uses iMovie and that you get slower render times on iMovie with the MacBook Air than the iPad Pro. With DaVinci, editing 4K, sizing it according to spec to fill out a YouTube video specifically with some light color, gray color correction on it, HDR or not HDR. If the video is anywhere between 10 and 12 minutes, I can get that video rendered. Now, I guess I'm also still controlling how, like, the file size more or less by how much data is being transferred or, processed during the render, like at 45,000 kilobits per second, which is around 45 megabytes, something that YouTube can handle for processing. So I'm having a lot of granular control over the render, but I think even if I did automatic, it would still come out less than like 3 to 5 minutes to render that video. Whereas on iMovie with Jay Show, it took like 6 minutes to render, a 9-minute video or something like that. So not only am I able to render a longer 4K video, I'm able to render it with a couple transitions, maybe a title or so involved. And whether or not it's one or multiple clips, it's still able to render all of that and process it all together within 3 to 4.5 minutes, sometimes 5, depending on, again, the length of the video. If it's any longer past 15 minutes, then you're looking at 5 to 6 minute render time. But I've usually never had to wait that long on renders for DaVinci Resolve on the M2 iPad Pro. So it's very interesting to see, because I've been very tempted to get a MacBook Air. I know for myself personally, a MacBook Pro is the way to go. That rhyme, don't hit the game bars. And my wife would actually enjoy a MacBook Air, but seeing that the M3 MacBook Air can still handle 4K editing and I'm not really losing time per se when it comes to that, I could potentially get away with a MacBook Air in the meantime, or at least test it and try it. So it's something that might come down the pipeline in the future. We'll see. Don't get too hyped. I definitely know the M3 iPad Pro will be in my hands when it approaches and arrives. Battery life. How has battery life been on this beast? Again, fantastic, phenomenal, fantabulous, incredible, impeccable. I use this to watch media or edit videos or do some light, workflow activities such as reminders. And I use reminders to kind of schedule and brainstorm video ideas and concepts for you guys, especially as I upload on a daily basis. So I do a lot of that. You see, I'm running a couple widgets now. And even if I edit a video 10-15 minutes, and all together it probably takes about 20 minutes sometimes to edit a video, sometimes 30, but again, it depends on the length of the video and how straightforward I was in the video. If it takes me 20-30 minutes tops to really edit a video around my 10-minute mark time that I usually upload videos, that render time, uploading it to YouTube, allowing it to upload before it starts processing so that way I can leave Safari, all that activity that's taking place, me in YouTube Studio on the iPad, typing up all my keywords and all that type of stuff, my tags. So if you're looking at about an hour, maybe at most, to really finish like a whole complete YouTube video with the iPad Pro, I still have several hours of media consumption after the fact. And that's what I like about the iPad Pro. Battery life to me has been improving over time, especially since I learned how to use DaVinci Resolve. That definitely helped. But I've noticed DaVinci Resolve improving its use on the iPad Pro, and each update has improved the acceptance of DaVinci Resolve, so to speak. And I'm always going to highlight that app because that's the app I really use the most on here. But then on top of that, doing a lot of video consumption with the iPad Pro and how it handles that is just immaculate. I love it. I love it a lot. So battery life has continued to improve in my use. And if I'm not using DaVinci Resolve, of course, or doing any video editing and all that fun jazz, and I'm just doing media consumption, it's lasting all day with no problem. So shout out to Apple for creating a beast of an iPad, something that can last despite the new iPads coming out. And that's what makes it a difficult decision, because I really love this M2 iPad Pro. Maybe I'll keep it to do beta testing on it while I'm working on the new M3 iPad Pro. But most likely I might be selling this to get it. And it's kind of like one of those situations where I don't necessarily want to, but I know the improvements and the tech improvements with the iPad Pro M3 version that I'm really looking forward to. So definitely be on the lookout for that on this channel. But to conclude, battery life is absolutely amazing. So let me know what's going on with you guys' iPads. Are you guys having a good time with your iPads? Have you updated to iPadOS 17.4.1? What tablet are you using? Maybe you're not even using an iPad. Maybe you're using an Android tablet. The comment section is open for discussion. Again, as always, if you guys haven't already, make sure to like the like button, subscribe to the channel, notification bell. It's all free. That makes my videos so you and I can sit back, check, see what's cracking. With your man Micah signing out until the next video. Look at this gorgeous boy. Wait for it.